Awesome. Welcome to the December 20th, 2023 group call. Today we're going to be focused on mapping out the journey to 10K per month as fast as possible. Um, and then the goal within that is basically scaling it without losing clients. We're going to cover depending on the industry. So I think most people in the meeting already understand what their niche or industry is, but basically scaling it as fast as possible to that 10K per month mark, and then from there seeing what questions you guys have in the actual call. So before we start, see if you guys have any questions. So catch me up on any questions you have, any wins you've had over the past week. Bring me up to speed.
So with my industry, which is residential contracting, and I'm starting to learn that even that is a bit broad, obviously,
Mhm.
because there's painters, hardscapers, aluminum, concrete, all that. And also I'm having a hard time trying to find like actual networking groups. I mean, because they're all like all the contracting groups are made for like them to find subcontractors or
Right,
them to connect with like real estate agents and stuff like that.
right. So,
So just
so
more of
the
like I'm having a hard time finding like more engaging, like actual B2B conversations.
So basically, you're looking to try to have those B2B conversations. So you're trying to find clients, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what have you, and you've been, I'm in a few groups too, and I see something similar where most of the questions are basically like looking for subcontractors and then you'll see like some marketer come in and they're like, bro, get out of here kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty bad with I haven't honestly was surprised how like the few marketing posts I've seen with contracting groups has been pretty good as opposed
Okay.
to like the pressure washing groups
Yeah.
and stuff. They'll just like throw rocks at you. But I mean, I've seen it. It's pretty relative, I guess. But I've seen a little bit of good engagement with marketers for contractors, but
Gotcha.
definitely some of the negatives too.
So when you're looking at like contractors, do you know what kind of contractors or just contractors in general?
I mean, mine is more residential, meaning they're looking for actual homeowners as their clients.
Okay.
So like bathroom remodeling, maybe hardscaping. So it's like exterior backyard customization, maybe like building pools or I'm kind of looking for those kind of like not necessarily commercial ones that are, you know, because I couldn't get them results like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, to like add on to what Grant is saying, like for me with HVAC, a lot of those groups they're either like really technical questions or like as you said, looking for other subs and stuff of that stuff nature. Not really like marketing related questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Like there's not too many of those.
you're really not gonna see that too much from the blue collar industry because they are not really aware of like what their bottleneck is, right? So they're not really aware that like this is what's holding them back. And so what we have to do is we have to understand this is the whole car mechanic example, right? Or this is the doctor example, right? So they're coming in, they're bringing in a vehicle. They're like, my car's making this sound. This is what I think it is. Here's how I think we need to fix it, right? When we look at those three things, only one of those points is going to be accurate. And that point that's going to be accurate is going to be the symptom that they've identified. That's it. That is the only thing that is going to be accurate in what they've said. The symptom that they've described. So if I say my car is making this sound that goes ee, and I think it's the rotors, and I think you need to replace the rotors, right? The only thing that you should take at face value is my car is making this noise. That's it, right? Because they're not a professional, they're not an expert. So they're taking the symptoms. It's like if you get a cold, if you start coughing, you go to WebMD, and then WebMD is like, oh, by the way, like you're done. Like you've got stage 4, you have stage 5 lung cancer. It's not even such thing as stage 5 lung cancer, but you have it, right? And then you're like, oh, I need to go like to an oncologist, right? The only thing you're right about is the fact that you have a cough. Does that make sense so far? Does that example like
Yeah.
everybody tracking that example so far?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, and now you're probably wondering, like, well, how does that tie into what I'm saying? So, when they're looking for subcontractors, why are they looking for subcontractors?
They want
They
someone to do the work, like someone to fulfill.
Okay, they want someone to fulfill. With the contracting space, is a subcontractor, don't they fill the same role as like a W-2 employee in a traditional 9 to 5?
in a sense, yeah, because they're getting paid for, like, it's not a direct client of theirs.
Right. And when
They're
they're
getting
looking
paid
for a
through the time.
subcontractor, what are the things they're looking for in the subcontractor?
Probably
Does it
good skill at their craft.
skill of their craft, business license, or whatever license they need to operate, right?
Hmm.
And I know, Grant, I know you're in like the Tampa Bay contractors group, right? What's a big issue they
Yeah,
have? They're like, we need like actual people who are legal citizens. That's a big issue they have because then otherwise you're not going to have them insured, right?
yeah, for
And
sure.
then and then they need so they need somebody who's good at what they do, and you're able to essentially like a decent a fair rate or fair rate wage, right? And then they've got it like they outline the certain things, right? What they're trying to do, this is the same thing that corporate America does, right? There's so many jokes and memes about this when it comes to the corporate side, but not really on the blue collar side. What is it on the corporate side? This is the joke, right? Entry level position, you need a master's degree and 10 years of experience, and the pay is like 35,000, right? They want somebody to fulfill a role and then accept wages for far below what they should be, right?
Correct.
When you're looking at these contractors and they're saying, I'm not able to find subcontractors or I'm looking for subcontractors. This is the same thing I've dealt with lawn care guys. I can't find anybody who wants to work. No, you can find people who want to work. You just can't find people who want to work for the pennies you're trying to pay them. That's the issue that we're actually having. And so we remembered like anything B2B is going to be monetarily based, right? Because you're either adding more money, keeping more money, or unlocking more time so they can make the same amount of money in less time or more money in the same time, right? That's that's about as far as it goes with these situations. So from here, if we're and this is I know this because the and some of the lawn care guys, what they do is they do lawn care and landscaping and hardscaping. So they start getting into construction, but it's not quite construction, right? It's usually like very well, it's landscape, right? So from there, what we do is we go, okay, cool. And this is what you can ask them. What's the wage? And they're going to tell you right away, well, it depends on the job. It's like, okay, right away, you've told me that you're going to try to negotiate down the lowest price possible, right? That's just how it is. Anytime it's like, it depends. Or if it's, oh, if they share their rate, it's always going to be like the lowest rate you've ever seen, or it'll be that rate with no benefits, right? And so what you need to do in that case is you basically need to tell them if you want to attract high quality, consistent quality work, you need to find the best quality service providers. I didn't say the best quality providers at a certain price. I said the best quality providers. And so when you look at it from that angle, you now see there's two sides of the spectrum. You have people who are high quality, untrained, like maybe they're just new guys, right? New experience, which usually in the trades, they come out with what is it, like 3 to 10 years of experience already? Like they come out with a crazy amount of experience. I'll say 3 to 5 to be more realistic because if they do an apprenticeship, right? So they usually come out with 3 to 5 years of experience, and then they have little experience and they're still trying to get signed on. And then you have the more senior guys who they know their rate and they already have the experience, they're already trained, and they're not going to settle for lower than what they want to pay or lower than what they want to get paid, right? And so the only way that you can, if we just boil this down as simply as possible, you need to pay for quality and or you need to find good quality when it comes out the gate, which is going to cost a little money, right? You have to have connections with whoever's training these people, right? Otherwise, you can't say, well, I need them to be trained, but I'm not going to connect, I need them to be trained, but they don't go, they don't get trained somewhere. Yes, everybody has to get trained somewhere. Otherwise, they're not going to come out with the experience. Otherwise, you're probably dealing with, and I'm referring to like very South Florida, you're dealing with probably immigrants, undocumented immigrants who are probably extremely talented, but they're not licensed. So there's issues in terms of payment, insurance, things like that, right? And they'll be the first to tell you, no, they cannot be any undocumented workers. And so the it really boils down to, if I give you or if I make you enough money and the wage isn't an issue anymore, then you'll be okay paying these guys what they're worth. And if you pay these guys what they're worth, they will do the money for you because that's why they're worth the money. You won't have to consistently go out and find new people because that's why they're worth the money. You won't have to retrain them because that's why they're worth the money. And so what these guys are trying to avoid is they're trying to avoid losing money on the profits because so few jobs are coming in. That's just a fact of the matter. That is 100% the fact of the matter. Now, the other option, go ahead.
And most of them probably aren't really pricing accordingly.
They have no
So
pricing structure. They're probably looking at it and they're probably spitballing it. And one of the first things that I did with the landscaping and hardscaping guys is I said we need an actual structure to how you're pricing this out to make sure you're not A, overcharging, and B, not leaving money on the table. Now, for if somebody's listening and they're like, well, don't they want to make as much money as possible? Yes, of course you want to make as much money as possible. But you have to remember that if somebody works with you once, they're more likely to work with you twice. So if you overcharge them the first time, they're not going to come back. So you might have got your little 2 cents the first time around, but you're not going to get it the second time around because they're not going to come to you. Yeah, Michael, what's up?
Yeah, I noticed like another problem in those groups that a lot of people talk about is they don't understand how to price their projects properly.
Perfect. So when we're pricing the projects, this is where you can start doing research about how we want to price these projects. So um, we can even start. Well, I'll get in that. I'll get into that second. But this is where you would start wanting to research how you're pricing your projects and having some kind of math to it, right? So a big issue I've seen is guys will be like, um, I don't want to. I want to buy my own materials, right? You just don't want to buy, I'll buy them because they're worried about the markup, right? Or they'll say things like, well, I'll bring my own guy and he's going to do the work. And so the client will even try to negotiate, not the client, but the homeowner, the property owner will try to negotiate with your client and say like, oh, well, I want more ways to cut down the money, right? And so what you can do with your clients is you can show them, number one, how to have a transparent pricing system that you can then turn over to the individual. And then the game becomes, how do I now validate this pricing model? And it's very, very easy to validate the pricing. Is it going to work every time? No. Easy doesn't mean it's just going to, easy doesn't mean it's going to be easy to close the sale. Easy just means it's very easy to have a transparent pricing model. So for example, what we did with with one of our hardscaping clients, what we did was we said, let's map out the cost of the supplies. When we are talking about, when we're doing, this is like project management 101, by the way. So you have to get an idea of the scope of the work and the time frame and the budget, right? Do you guys know what I mean when I say scope, time frame, budget?
yes.
Okay. Anybody not know? And this applies to all projects, by the way.
Can you just give me like a brief definition on each term?
Sure. So scope is going to be, what are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish? Timeline, in what amount of time are we trying to accomplish this? And then budget is going to be, what is the money allocated towards certain things? So, money allocated towards equipment, towards resources, towards human personnel, right? Towards anything. And so in project management, you plan everything out, you map it all out, and then you hand that project over. So when we look at project management, it is very closely related to construction, hardscaping, landscaping, not landscaping so much, but hardscaping and construction, because they need a full mapped out plan and schedule. And then that's usually what they use to get the permits from the city, right? They have to say we have a structured, but we're not just going to go over here and start kicking around in a sandbox. They have to say we have a full structured plan of how this works. And this is exactly what I'm going to be covering with you guys, which is we have a full structured plan of how we're going to proceed and basically try to map out how quickly and how efficiently and how effectively we're going to make all of these certain things take place, right? So if we're looking again, if we like, for example, if you're talking about working with construction guys, then you have a clear pricing. So what you do is you create a Google Excel or Google sheet, Excel sheet, whatever, and you have the equipment, the resources, the estimated human labors, and you map out all of those numbers based on actually doing research. So this way, when they hand that pricing over to the client, they can be like, cool, here's the cost based on everything. And so if we let's look at the three categories, which are going to be equipment, resources, and human capital. The more, um, so if we let's go in actual chronological order, right? So the equipment is going to be the equipment. There's really not very much variable costs in terms of the equipment, right? If you're renting the equipment or you already have the equipment, there's usually not very many variable costs in terms of the equipment. Where your variable costs come into play next are going to be your resources. Like, what are you using? What materials are you using? And this is why a lot of clients, when they're trying to negotiate with the contractors, they're going to say, well, I'll buy the materials. What the contractor needs to do instead is say, listen, we're going to buy it to make sure we have what we need. We're not going to upcharge you anything. There's no additional pricing, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're going to make sure we get it, right? And so that's what the big issue with those guys is or when it comes to buying materials is like, well, they're going to upcharge me, right? And so for the contractor, there's two ways to handle it. Here's what I recommend. I recommend having anywhere from a 5 to 10% fee. So if the equipment is $1,000, if the resources are $1,000, which is usually like, let's say 10,000, be realistic. So if the materials for a certain part of a project are $10,000, I would have like a 2 to 5, maybe a 8% upcharge, basically saying we're going to go out and buy and source all this equipment. And then you can let the customer know we have this little upsell right here or this upcharge right here because we have to go out and make sure we're getting the right equipment. If there's something wrong with the equipment, we have to handle it going back and forth. We have to handle the logistics of getting it here and there. And so the client will sometimes say, well, I'll just handle it, right? And there's two ways to handle that. It's either number one, okay, if you don't get all of these things, that's going to slow us down. Every day that it slows us down, you're going to be billed for that because we're putting time aside for this project. So I would really advise you to just let us do it. Number two, you can say, we're going to do it faster than you because this is what we do for a living. So you're actually going to save money by letting us do this and eating this fee. And you can even throw in number three, where if they're really giving pushback, depending on if the client wants to do it or not, you can say, cool, that's the fee that we'll negotiate on. We'll lower the service fee from 7.5% to 5%, right? For the sourcing materials. So that's where there's a little negotiation put in play. And even you can even say like, cool, well, if you want worse quality materials, then yeah, we can go lower on this pricing. But by having transparent pricing, you can show in equipment and materials, I'm getting to human, but in equipment and materials, you can show if we go less, it's going to hurt you somewhere else. Like if you have no equipment, how much more are you going to pay in human resources for them to manually dig something versus getting an excavator, right? So with this transparent pricing, you're essentially showing them that this is a thought out logical plan that is done by quality professionals. If they want somebody to just go out back with a shovel and a hard work ethic, maybe going down to, Home Depot and pick up some guys in the, backside of the parking lot. And if you're in Florida, that is a thing. If you're in Florida, you can just go to the backside of Home Depot and there's like 20, 30 guys waiting. I don't know how big the city you're in, Grant, but I don't know if you even live in Tampa, but yeah, it can be. I'm in Hollywood, Miami. It can be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm in
So
Clearwater, so it's same density relatively.
great. So the next question is going to be the human resources, right? People, and that's where people are going to be like, why are they this much per hour? And this is where again, this is where like basic sales comes into play, which is what is the alternative way, and how can we ostracize the alternative way? So you can say, listen, my guys are 20 an hour a piece, 25 an hour a piece, 30 an hour a piece for this type of a project. And then it's a matter of justifying it. So you have to say, listen, you can always go cheaper. Let me show you how they actually save costs because they're making money when they go cheaper. Let me show you how they're making money. They're going to pocket this. Here's where they're going to cut corners. They're going to either steal or recycle materials that's not theirs. They're going to use equipment that's not theirs. They're probably going to rent it or, God forbid, steal it. Or they're going to use people who are undocumented. So that way, when they get hurt, they cannot provide the insurance. And then that's going to fall on you because you have people on your property who are not insured by anybody. And so you have to show them how going with the cheaper option opens them up to liability and risk to paying more. And if you look in those groups, what is the number one thing that customers look for in those groups? Hey, I'm looking for somebody who must be licensed. I need your license number. And people will be like, Bill Walters. I've been doing this 25 years. License number. Boom, 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 boom. Give me a call. Here's my cell. Like those are the dudes who are like, hey, we ain't cheap because we do it right the first time. That's like the dudes who are like picking up clients that come into those groups when if that does happen. So when those clients come in, they're like, I need someone licensed. Or look at the client nightmares. I paid some dude, wasn't insured. I'm screwed. I'm screwed. And so what you can do is you can basically like think about it. This is the big issue. And Grant, if I'm you, this is my first YouTube video. How to price without leaving money on the table. And you explain we have a transparent pricing system. This is what we're going to help you set up a transparent pricing model. Is going to be relative to your pricing. I'm going to show you how to handle the objections. I'm going to show you how to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to show you how to not only show that your competitor is cheaper, but show why when you go with the cheaper route, it opens you up to liability. And then you can go on Facebook. You could do this right now. Facebook, Google, hell, you could go on Bing or Yahoo. We're getting straight ruthless with it. You can go on some random, nobody knows search engine. If you search up contractor screwed me over, I promise you, you're going to find a bunch of contractors who are not licensed, and you're going to find all their stories, all these stories about how a contractor who was not licensed screwed them over. And Grant, if I'm you, that's what I'm putting in my frame. Right under the frame, old way bad, that's what I'm putting. And you know what I'm going to do when I do that? I'm gonna test you real quick, Grant. B2B always boils down to what?
It's either you're saving them money, making them money, or saving them time.
Perfect. When you show them those contractor fails, look in those comments. I promise you they're there because I've probably read thousands when I was working with hardscapers. Look at those comments. They're gonna say, I paid this guy this much money. He effed me over. They're gonna be heated because it's a lot of money. It's not gonna be he screwed me over. It's gonna be he effed me over. I had to pay this much more to fix it. I ended up paying double, triple what I should have paid. That is all the marketing you need right there. That is it right there. And you can, and if I'm working with a client, I'm going to be like, listen, we're going to tell them in the content that we're licensed. We're going to tell them in the campaigns that, here's how you find our information. We're going to tell them in the information. We're going to tell them we are so transparent with all of our information that if we wanted to screw you over, you'd be able to sue us within like, before the sun went down. You can't do that with people who aren't licensed. You can't do that with people who don't invoice you. You can't do that with people who require 80% upfront, right? And so all you have to do, and this is what I love, when you look at contractors, people go, this is a super saturated space. Yeah. You know what saturation means? It means that there's a bunch of people in there that are just straight riffraff. They're not organized. Lack of organization leads to shady practices because they're unorganized. And then it leads to cutting corners to catch up. And then it leads to bad experiences. There's easily, if we looked at the contracting space, and I'm not trying to talk badly about contractors. I'm actually talking highly about contractors. The ones who do it the right way, they get sometimes a bad rep because there's so many people in the bad doing it the wrong way. Look at movers. Moving. If you want to talk about one of the worst spaces to build trust and reputation, movers. Hands down. And if you look at a good marketing campaign, what do? They say 80% of our industry sucks. This is why they suck. This is what they do. This is how it costs you more money, gives you a headache, gives you frustration. Why not just pay a premium rate for premium quality and get it right the first time? And that's basically what the whole marketing campaign revolves around. So for you guys, when you're going to make I don't want to cover it too much because I covered it in the YouTube video in the last group call. But for you guys, when you're going to make your long form content, especially you, Grant, the first video you need to make should be the number one problem that people have. And if you look at, I'm going to share my screen really quickly, and you're going to start seeing like, I don't know what you guys, I don't know how you guys view me or anything like that. Like, I don't really care. But if you're ever wondering, like, is there a rhyme or reason to what he's doing? So look at this. You guys see this folder on my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. Number one, somebody read me off number one.
The fastest way to reach your first 25 clients in 2024, regardless
Cool.
of skill.
Why does that say number one?
It's very like attractive.
It's number one because that's the number one issue I found that people had in
yes.
this space. And so by numbering it, yes, I keep it organized so that way I always know how to reference it. But look at the dates. The dates aren't even accurate because I'll go back and modify them. That's the why I use the Google Drive or the Google Docs, right? That's the number one issue I saw with people. So when I would go and engage with people via the DMs, via groups. So let's say groups are off the table. Cool, go via DMs. But I'm going to show you how groups aren't off the table for you. In the DMs, they're saying, this is the issue I'm having. Oh, I have a video that handles this. You mind if I send it over to you? It's 100% free. It's on YouTube. Oh, yeah, send it over. Sure, send it over. All right, cool. You send it over, and now instead of you repeating yourself, think about how many times. I want you guys to guess how many times do you think I have to repeat that conversation? This conversation right here. I want you to guess how many times you think I've had to repeat it.
A lot.
Like, give me an
Or
exact guesstimate.
18 times.
Try 1,100.
Oh, well.
1,100 times. That's how many views. And I'm not saying this to flex at all. I'm saying this to show the
No,
model.
yeah.
I have 1,100 views in that video. Imagine if I had to have that conversation 1,100 times. Instead, I can say, cool, here you go. And then video number 2. I don't know what process. I don't know that. This was the second thing I saw people had issues with. So people would have an issue. And if I caught myself having a conversation repeatedly, I would then make long form content. So now I don't have to say, oh, let me go through the same conversation. I already know exactly how it's going to go. If you ask me about any one of these documents, by the way, I've had these conversations so many times, I could tell you what's exactly on there without opening it. And so you'll see if the number one issue is I'm trying to subcontract out and I'm having a tough time finding it, the number one video I'm going to create, the first video I'm going to create is how to find and attract quality subcontractors in your residential construction company. That's the number one video I'm going to make. And then I'm going to manually push it because, and how do I know manually pushing is going to work? They're telling you, I don't know how to do this. So you go, I have a free video, not pitching you, not doing an offer. Do you mind if I can send it over if that helps? If not, don't worry, I won't paste it. And then they'll go, yeah, sure. In the group, in the DMs, yeah, send it over. And then you go, cool, here's the link. Hands off. And what's the last section of every single one of those documents? Here are the next steps if you want me to work with you. This is how it looks. This is how it goes. And it's broken down into tangible deliverables. Now, if you look at any one of those videos, my call to action is always a page long. Takes me about maybe a minute to 2 minutes to read. My videos are between 15, let's be realistic, 20 and 40 minutes. So less than 10% of my videos are the call to action. And it's at the end, so they can skip it whenever they want. And because it's at the end, I don't lose them up front when people try to put a call to action in the very beginning. So my watch hours go up. At the bare minimum, this is the best part about this. At the bare minimum, when you are using this model, think about this. To run ads, what do you have to do to run ads?
What, as in like create copy and do campaign details?
Okay.
Select the budget.
Check it out. When I do YouTube, it doesn't cost me anything. I get free exposure, and within 3 weeks, I'm over 10% of the way monetized. So I'm going to get to the point where YouTube pays me to market.
Yeah, that's cool.
So from here, that would be my first piece of content. But this is just showing the exact order of priority that people have. And you can see, look, I want you to pay attention to the titles. How to get your first 25. This is the model I use to hit this number. Social media is the best. How to reverse engineer the most profitable niche. Exactly what to offer. I land 5 clients using this. Whoa, wait, what's happening? The titles are getting more and more specific. As they're getting more and more specific, they're resonating deeper and deeper. And it's showing you that these 3, I'll say these 4, now we'll even go 1 through 6. 1 through 6 are the most generalized, broad topics that apply to every question I've ever seen. And then social media beats all other cold outreach models. What is number 7? I'm starting to show more specifics within that category because people go, oh, I have a question. And I'm seeing repeated questions. How do I do the YouTube? How do I do the YouTube? Oh, your YouTube's blowing up. How do I do that? That's the next question. Guess what I'm going to be doing after this? How to find, hire, manage your VAs for your Go High level agency so you can stop working. What about that? how to consistently hit 10K, because these are the issues I've seen people ask, right? Yeah, so I think Michael, do you still have your question?
Yeah. So, like honestly, I don't even really know how to word this question, but like what I'm trying to ask is, so let's say you make this video that's like how to price, like like offering a pricing structure to these
Yeah.
contractors. So my question is like, what's really like the purpose of making a video like that? Don't get me wrong, it's like valuable and everything,
No, no,
but
yeah, yeah, you're fine.
um, what's the purpose of making that video if it's not really like something that they can pay you to do or something that you can help them out with?
Because the fact of the matter is, it's to establish you as an authoritative expert in the field.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking, but yeah.
Now, you can still help them with that. How many of these guys do you think are going to sit down and build out a spreadsheet mapping this whole thing out?
I mean, probably not a lot, but then that would just add that to my offering.
We will help. And what's the call to action at the end of every video? If you want help with this, like here's the next steps. We will help you do this, all of this and more. What do I mean by
Mhm.
and more? Boom, 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 boom.
Interesting, interesting.
And if you want access to this document showing you exactly how to do this, subscribe to the channel, send me a DM. Here's the link to my social. They DM you and they go, hey, I want help. I want the access to the document on how to price this. What's the issue that they're having? Pricing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So then you go, what do you do? And so what would the first question? Hey, can I get the access on like look, ask me right really quickly. Ask me. Say, can I get access to this to learn how to price?
Can I get access to this? Learning how to price?
Yeah. Here's the link. Here you go. Enjoy it. By the way, what are you doing right now to price? How are you pricing right now? What's your pricing structure?
Then you just have a conversation.
But it's an inbound sales conversation because how are you doing it? If we expanded that sentence, it's what? How are you currently doing it right now? That's
Yeah,
state A. And what is state B? What's state B? They
like where
want a
do you want to be?
model. Well, it's where they want to be, yeah, but they want the model. We already know what state B is because they reached out about it.
hmm
And so the inbound sales conversation takes place, which is where are you? Where do you want to be? What do you think is holding you back from doing that, right?
hmm
And
I
yeah,
see.
Christian said people will give you their time before they give you their money. Yeah. And this is 100% a fact. If the sauce is free on YouTube, they assume the paid services are insanely more valuable. Yeah, that's 100% a fact. That's exactly what it happens. And
Hey,
the fact of
Alec.
the matter is, if you actually do what you said you were going to do, then you can provide the what, in what order, and why for free. And then the how is you just doing it with them. And the how, here's the weird part. The how is insanely easy. Ask a construction guy what's easier, closing the deal with the homeowner or actually building the property. They're going to tell you they'd rather build the property every day of the week. To you and I, that's the harder part because we don't have those skills. We can sell all day long, right? So when it comes to building funnels is so easy for us. But what's the next issue that we're having? That's the part that people want to outsource. So if they're coming to you saying, this is the issue I'm having, this is what I don't know how to do, they're telling you, I am good at my craft. I am not good at selling. And guess what? That's perfectly okay. Right? I was talking to a Christian, I think it was yesterday, and we were talking about this. A neurosurgeon is extremely talented. A neurosurgeon is not going to be the best fit for a heart surgery. That's a cardiologist, right? That doesn't take away from that individual's level of intelligence or skill or expertise. It's just a matter of where do they excel, and they need to place individuals around themselves to excel in other categories in order to truly be successful. So when you can tell these people, here's an example I always used with the lawn care guys. I would tell them, listen, I don't know the first thing about I don't even know how to turn a lawnmower on. And they would always chuckle. I'd be like, but here's what I do know. I can make a nasty funnel that's going to retain all of your clients. Anytime it snows, we can click a single button. We can hit up everybody. Hey, you want me to come shovel your driveway? Anytime it rains, we can hit a single button. Hey guys, we're going to be a little delayed this week because of the weather. We don't want to mow when it's wet because basically it's not going to be as nice. You're going to end up paying for us to come out or your yard's going to look uglier. Click a single button to do all that. And we can integrate with whatever software you're doing. And so I would use that joke to kind of push my way in, but you can also use it on them and be like, listen, you're phenomenal at building properties. So I've seen the properties you built, they're beautiful. Here's the thing though. Your website is terrible. And then you pivot right away. But don't get me wrong, I could never do what you do. However, my websites, my funnels, my this, my that, I crush, right? And so you're showing how it makes sense. And sometimes they'll even be like, well, couldn't I just do this myself? And you'll be like, yeah, you can do it yourself. Hop on YouTube. Here are the channels I recommend. This is what I'll do. Hop on YouTube. These are the channels I recommend. Go do X, Y, Z. Um, and it'll probably take you a few months to get it right. The first website I built, I think, took me like a week and a half to build. But yeah, it's all on YouTube. They're not gonna want to do it. I promise you, they're not gonna want to do it. Like I could go look up on YouTube those like guys in the Amazon forest who like take sticks and mud and they build like whole like who's seen those like they build like their whole pool system and like a mud house, right? There's videos on YouTube about how to do all sorts of things. There's videos on YouTube about how to fix a car and everything. That doesn't mean I want to go do it. I'm gonna watch 2 minutes of that and be like, nope, go into the garage, right? So you can even be like you can even promote them, suggest them, oh yeah, you can go learn how to do it for free, or I could just do it for you way faster, way more efficiently. But for you, Grant, I would say like this is gonna be really like if they're saying I can't find subcontractors, that's video number one. And now what you need to do is you need to be intelligent enough to understand what's the actual root cause that's preventing them from hiring out. That's going to require, if we come in here, that's going to require you to follow this document and specifically this avatar analysis. So if I were you, Grant, the first thing I would do would be go through this document, fill out this reverse triangle analysis, especially here. I would have these interview questions. Um, and I would go through that and I would basically ascertain what's holding them back. And so this is something that like a lot of people aren't going to tell you to do because they're trying to have like this level of professionalism and business acumen and they think that means knowing everything and not needing help. Talk to them. Hey, like what is it about not finding subcontractors that's so difficult? Like is it the price? Ask them. These blue collar guys for the most part, they want to feel respected. They want to feel admired. They want to feel appreciated because a lot of their work goes unrecognized and unnoticed, right? So if you just talk to them and you show a level of respect and appreciation, no glazing, okay? Like man to man, simple, no over the top. Hey man, like you do good work. Like, do you mind if I ask you some questions about what you do? Like, I notice a lot of people in the space they can't find subcontractors. Like, what's the deal with that? Like, I figured I'd ask you because like you clearly know what you're doing. You just having like a straight conversation, man to man, they're gonna appreciate that. They're gonna respect that, and you kind of sprinkle in your compliments in a very manly way, right? Because you're talking to these blue collar guys. But usually the blue collar guys just want to go do the work and go home, right? Same goes for, I mean, it's blue collar, right? HVAC, construction, lawn care. These guys are working. I mean, if you've done manual labor type of work, very quickly, you're like, screw the formalities. Anytime the boss is giving you more work, it's a pain in the butt, right? Anytime the client's a pain in the butt after you've done all this work sweating and breaking your back over it, it's not a fun experience. So helping them feel understood and communicating to them in the language they speak is going to take you very far. I don't care what industry that is.
So how does I think I'm kind of asking just maybe a little bit differently what Michael was asking. Like so I have like a pretty like stern service certain like group of services I'm trying to offer to that said industry.
Yeah.
Like how could I directly correlate like talking about how in the back end of their company they need to how they need to price and attract subcontractors? How could that correlate with like my bottom line offer of search engine marketing, back end systems, and DIY/DFY content creation?
When you have those systems in place, you are both making them more money and you're saving them money because they're spending way less on the software. You're creating a
Mhm.
customized solution that's going to save them money, it's going to save them time, and that's the client retention model. And if you get into client acquisition model, you're now making them more money. So the differential between the expenses and the revenue is increasing, and of course that means they're profiting more. And with the more they can profit, they can pay to have a higher quality team that they can then leverage to land bigger and bigger jobs or more numerous jobs. That's how you train
Okay,
a kid.
cool. Yeah, I was just, it made sense. Obviously, that's like a very big issue in the industry. I was just thinking of how
Yeah.
I could
But
kind of
every
transition
every
into.
issue in that space needs to boil down to that being the solution. And I'm not saying mold it, fake it, force it. I'm saying you have to connect the dots because anytime, if you want to look at great salesmen, what they do is number one, you don't know you're being sold to. Number two, they connect the dots regardless of what language you speak. They break it down. Usually, a great one will communicate it in the language you speak, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm talking to you, and just knowing a little bit about who you are, right? I could use dating examples. I could use weightlifting examples because those are analogies that you will understand very quickly. And so and that's why I'll use quite a few analogies because if I can use those analogies, I can ensure that you now understand exactly what I'm saying because I've used something you do understand to help you understand something you don't understand. And so what we cover in, for example, the fast track MRR program was when we create our process, our chronological process of how we're breaking down what we do and the process in which we do it to clients, we do it using analogies that are actually in their field. So if you were Grant, if you're talking about having the client retention model before the client acquisition model, and you're talking to people who build homes, then number one would be, well, we have to build a client retention model. This is very similar to building and laying the proper foundation before building the home. Yes, the home is the flashy part, just like getting clients is the flashy part. But having that foundation put in place is going to be detrimental to making sure that that beautiful home actually stays up for a long, long time. And then, and here's the analogy of you ostracizing your competition. What my competitors will do is they'll build you a beautiful home, and it's going to be just like an episode of Ty Pennington's, home makeover edition, where the home is beautiful, and you hear about it a year or 2 years later having horrible, cracks in the foundation, the house is falling apart. It was great for a year or two, but there was not the foundation was not laid properly. And so they're going to go, okay, so you've got to build something that most people won't see, but we know is going to impact the success and longevity of when you actually get into acquiring clients. And they understand that because they understand a beautiful home needs an even more beautifully designed and planned out foundation, right? And so right there, I'm using an analogy that I know they will understand to explain something that they don't yet understand, which
And
is,
even the subcontracting issue can correlate with my expertise because I'm not going to be there and like be your accountant. I'm not that. That's like I'm offering these very specific services, but like I can basically morph that issue into my solution because
yeah,
yeah, like establishing a good brand and everything will directly attract you like higher quality subcontractors and
right. And additionally, like if we look at you can just ask them like, what do you think what's the main thing holding you back from finding quality subcontractors? And if they don't jump into self-reflection, then you have to make them look inwards. And you do that by saying, cool, well, what's your budget for them? What do you tell them you're going to pay them? How do you how do you explain this or that? What's it like working on the job site? You can explain to them like, listen, like if you don't make it a place where people want to work, why would they work there? Right?
yeah, and then like your solution is one, you give them the document for proper pricing, and then on top of that, your services make them more money. So it is solving that problem in that
Right.
sense. Sure.
And so you have to connect those dots.
Hmm. No, yeah,
So
like that's what I'm doing right now as I'm talking to
yeah,
you. It's like it's very clear now that
right.
like
And
even
so
though you're not the accountant or the business development guy, you can still like morph your specific services into like that issue.
right. And so you see how like you're walking away from this as like like this is clear to me. That says that you've understood what I'm trying to say and trying to explain. And so that's now your challenge. Your challenge is how do I communicate this effectively so much so that they say walking away from this, that makes sense. Okay, I see what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is why, if you look at the step 5 training in the SASO University membership, where we talk about the ultimate closing framework, when we go to the very end of that closing framework, we don't mention pricing. all we're doing is showing them that our level of expert. So number one, we're showing them that we understand where they are and where they want to be, and then we're explaining here's how we bridge the gap. And I'm showing you I understood because I'm bridging the gap exactly how you wanted it to be bridged using my expertise, right? That called the neurosurgeon effect, right? There's some things that you say, listen, it's my way or the highway when it comes to certain things, right? And then from there, you just sit back. I was telling Christian this yesterday. You just sit back, you pop open your drink, and once you're done with the whole meeting, you don't mention pricing. You just sit there and you like this.
Yeah, you told me that like months ago when I did it
Yeah.
too. I did it in person with those insurance guys, and
Yeah.
I like they were, I don't know, it's like they looked at me for like the 20 seconds thinking I had like another rebuttal or something, and then they just went, "All right."
That's it. And
Yeah,
it's the most awkward thing ever, but it works. Because
I know. I was trying so hard not to like not look at them, you know? 'Cause I was trying to make sure I was like looking at them that whole time we were silent, and it was so hard to.
yeah. And what I'll do is I'll usually stare at their chin or forehead and I'll just be like,
Exactly.
and it's the most even to this day for me, it is still the most awkward thing ever, but you just sit there.
Hey, but I
And
think they respect it, so
I mean, yeah, they fall for it. They fall for it 100%. And them falling for it and them saying they're speaking and breaking the silence, don't make it like unbearably awkward, but you can still push forward with it.
for
Yeah,
sure.
Christian, what's up? You're muted if you're talking. There you go.
Yeah, my bad. I kind of raised that hand by accident. I was gonna wait because I wasn't trying to interrupt the flow.
No, you're good.
It'll,
You're good.
so this is again, I apologize if this is shifting the dynamic of the convo, but this is like
No,
a
that's what this is for.
all right. So where's the chat? What the fuck? Hold on.
You're good.
Here we go. So I'm gonna just paste this link in here. Um, So I know you say to not do this, to not build a snapshot before you talk to like X amount of prospects during the avatar analysis in order to, compile that
You can
dialed
you
in.
can build the snapshot. You just need to continuously build it over your first 25 to 50 clients.
Okay, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So basically a big thing of what I'm gonna pretty
Don't
sure
build
I'm
your
gonna
website. That's what I would say. Do not build your website. There's no need for a website. Go straight to a funnel. For your snapshot, you remember we were talking about this yesterday where you can make a mock-up. The mock-up can act as the snapshot. And so you can start with the mock-up.
then
You
you
can
refresh it and then it goes to all the sub accounts.
Yeah, and so you can start with the mock-up. The mock-up as you're meeting and talking with people, and they're like, "Oh, can we do X? Can we do Y? Can we do Z?" You start adding that in there, and then for your first 25 to 50 clients, we use the CSM efforts to check in with them, right? Positive and negative pulse checks, and from there, you want to gather feedback. Let the feedback dictate how you improve the snapshot for everybody. After your first, like, let's say 25, 50 guys, you can kind of chill with how much you're updating it, and if it's like this is very specific to what they want, cool, we can do it just for you. But the first 25 to 50 should basically start like smoothing out the stone. You ever seen those things where they put a stone in and it starts smoothing it out and they leave it in there for like 24 to 48 hours and it comes out
Yeah,
like beautiful? That's what you're trying to do. Except for instead of 48 hours, it's 48 clients. And you
right,
just let it smooth it out.
right. So I actually just had a call before this, so there was a couple dialed in questions I had about like their reactivation efforts. Obviously,
Mhm.
most businesses are going to say, no, I don't have that. So I kind of just, harped in on that and got them to say it themselves of, oh yeah, we should probably be doing this, which is a no-brainer.
Perfect.
And I mean, I could rattle off like 10 different topics that they know they need help with. But specifically, because I want to start mapping out the automations in my head for a loyalty program. And I know high level, you're able to do a little bit of it. I've searched in the group, I've seen people comment about
Hmm.
loyalty and trackable referral programs, although there's this website that I just pasted,
Yeah.
that I've seen someone talking about on YouTube. What's that guy's name? Keaton something. He he
Okay.
basically dropped this link. It seems like it's a more aesthetically pleasing integration with high level directly. It's kind of like an
Yeah.
extendly, like they directly integrate. That's one of their value propositions. And I wanted to get your feedback if you've heard of it. Maybe you can check it out. Let me know what you think. It seems like the loyalty program within high level, it's lacking a little bit in terms of the extent that the automations can go. So that's
But
kind of,
this is a go high level extension. Like this integrates with high level.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, then if it extends to high level, then you can then use the high level automations.
Yeah, so I guess my question was more so like if you think this is worth it, because obviously I'll have to pay for it, or if you think I should just start
You
trying
add
to.
it into your pricing. So what you and this is where we start creating your own software stacks. So I'm actually very happy you did this. So let me pull up a little whiteboard just so I can say we did it on this call and be cringy with it. But if we have a software stack, right? This is how it works, okay? High level is the base of your software, okay? And we can even make this like really wide. So high level is the base of your software. From here, you're going to start stacking things on to essentially create a more tailored solution, right? So this could be like, you know what? I don't even know why it's doing that, but so then you're adding like, let's say this becomes, boomerang, right? And you start stacking these things on here. And then let's say they're like, well, we want to use, you know, a different social media scheduler, and we want it to fully integrate, or maybe they have a niche specific software, right? So if you're
Mhm.
dealing with like a holistic, like this is when I was reviewing with somebody today. I know you're not dealing with chiropractors specifically, but let's say ChiroTouch, right? And so what happens is you start integrating these things, and then maybe to connect the two. Well, there's an integration between these two. It's called something? It's called something. I don't remember the name, but we'll just I gotta stop doing that. And this gets its own integration that connects the two, right? We'll just call it like a it's not Zapier, but we'll just say integration, right? And so what you start doing is you start building your own software stack, right? Because now you have all of this, right? If you just have high level, what do you have? This is how easy is it for me to replace you as a high level
It's
provider,
commoditized.
right? It's commoditized. But if I start saying now we're adding Boomerang, now we're adding, niche specific software, now we're adding an integration. Now this becomes harder and harder to replace because now you have this whole bubble. And so this is where you start creating your own software stack. And if anyone's like, well, technically it's not your own software stack, yes, it is because you're providing a custom solution. So traditionally a software stack would be like, we've got JavaScript and we're using it on, we're using these traditional, like very, very fundamental tools and writing out our own code. And this is our custom code. It's like, yes, that is what an actual SaaS is, your actual software. But if you start stacking other softwares, because people will tell you like they're using JavaScript, they're using, coding language. Yes, that's the very, very, not very, very, but that's a very fundamental, basic way to like start creating things. But you can use other tools and start stacking other tools. And that can be like I wouldn't it's a software stack essentially. It's not going to be a true software stack the way that, coders and things will tell you. And if they somehow see this video, they're going to be like, well, technically, it's like, no, technically a software stack is you're using multiple pieces of software, you're stacking them up, you're stacking them in a way that provides a tailored solution. When you do it that way, this is where it gets cool. When you do it that way, now it's harder for them to leave you because for them to leave you, they have to go to somebody and be like, well, we don't know what he did, but he essentially, we were able to do all these things. And they're going to go, well, we can't do that just and go high level. So we have to do in this, and that. And then for them to replicate what you're doing is much, much harder. Right.
Yeah, facts.
That's where the tailored solution comes in. That's why I always love doing a setup fee. That's why I'm never going to advise you to say, oh, just have an open way for them to sign up for your software. No, you're going to get low quality people, you're going to have high churn, and you're going to have scammers hit you. Instead, you force them to have an onboarding meeting, you assess what they want, you check in with them every 2 to 4 weeks, you build out what they need, and you're doing everything they want. And then what you're doing on top of that is anything they add in there, now you can start charging more and more. So if you're adding in Boomerang, from what I've seen, it's about, you know, 28, let's say 30 a month, right? Anytime we bring in fees or new software, what are we doing? We are 3xing the price minimum. And we're not doing this to say, ooh, I'm making money. We're doing this because you are now having to bring in people who are using the software, who know the software. You're now having to learn that software. You're now having to troubleshoot that software. So there's an additional fee that goes into it. So if someone's like, I could buy a hammer for $12. Why should I pay you 20 an hour? It's like, cool. Is the hammer going to do the work? Is the hammer going to know where to hit? No, the hammer's going to sit there like, use me, right? It's a tool. You need the professional behind the tool. So you 3x that value. And so if you're saying, okay, I could charge like, if you're saying like, high level, if we've got high level, maybe you're saying it's like, 97 to 297 a month, somewhere in that ballpark, right? When you start stacking software, if you're paying, let's assume a 97 a sub count, and now you're adding this $30 and you're going to be at 127. This becomes the new minimum that you're charging per month, but we're going to 3x this, right? So if you were to 3x 97, let's just round up to 100 because I do army math. This can become, 297 a month, right? So I know you have with high level, it's like you pay a flat rate, but let's just assume you have to charge 97 minimum per the terms of service. So let's treat every sub account like it's 97. If we 3x it, I know this is not perfect, but we get somewhere here, right? Again, just bear with the army math. When you start adding this in, this becomes your new minimum, which you then 3x. So just by adding this, now you can say, hey, we have a custom solution for you. And let's say it's $397 a month versus the $297 a month. Again, this is army math plus high level numbers. So if anybody comments like 27 times 3 is not, yeah, I could care less. I could not care less. So this can become your new rate as you're doing the software stack. Now check it out. You start adding in Zapier or premium automations with your rebilling, and this number starts climbing more and more and more, and they're happy to pay it because guess what? Is there a single software that does all of this in one? If we look right here, is there a single software that's adding both of what you have in one? No. So this solution is custom, and because it is a one of one product, you have now capitalized on what we call the 0 to 1 principle. This is how you build. If you ever heard somebody say, create your own niche, this is how you create your own niche. This is how you create your own space within an industry. You start creating customized, tailored solutions to people, and then you productize it. And now you have just created your own space, and nobody can touch you because you've created your own space. You are the first person in your space. And if you're the first person in your space, you have more leniency if you make a mistake. You can charge more because what does supply and demand tell us? There's nobody else providing this. And then we create demand by showing case studies and how this is the perfect solution for people in the holistic health space. And all of a sudden, if we look at I think what did you tell me your degree was in? It's like it's something financial, right?
Yeah, BBA in finance and then a minor in accounting.
Perfect. So you understand supply and demand?
Yeah.
Okay. For anyone who doesn't, if we're looking at supply and demand, this is how it goes. And correct me if I'm wrong. So if we're looking, what am I trying to do here? Here we go. So if this is supply and this is demand, or you can switch them either way, it doesn't really matter. This is called the equilibrium. This is where price is determined. This is P. P is price. So if you are the only, so let's look at this chart here. If you are the only supplier and demand is up here, right? We'd have to move this line all the way over, being that the supplier is here and the demand is going to be high. So now what happens to your price? Your price, again, this is like a really, really bad breakdown, but essentially your price, this would be P2, this would be P1, your price just shot up, right? Your price just shot up because you have created your own industry, meaning you're the only supplier. And so if you're the only supplier, the new game becomes creating demand. But guess what? You don't have to create demand. You just have to market to create your own demand because you've already established that people want this. That's how you came up with the solution. So when entrepreneurs love to say this really, really cringy line, I hate this line so much because yes, it's accurate, but people don't understand how to use it. They will say, solve problems. The bigger the problems you solve, the more money you're going to make. They don't understand what they're saying. They're just regurgitating that because they're like, well, if I fix this problem that nobody else can fix, you're going to pay me a lot of money, right? No, there's a lot of money to solve problems. If you understand what problems they're trying to solve and you then provide that solution, they will come to you giving you money because you're the now sole provider. That is how that process works. And yes, if it sounds like the exact same, it's understanding how do we come to that solution. We have to know, and this is like SASO University 101. The niche dictates the offer. If you productize the offer, you now have created your own space, or you have at the very least become a very highly positioned supplier in that space. So all the people who are like, and you said it really well, right? You said high levels become commoditized to a degree, right? I had somebody reach out to me and they said, this happened last night. They reached out to me and they said, I asked high level how to sell their own service. They told me price it at $297, don't niche down, push the missed call text back. Go. That's exactly what they told me. Well, that's what they told me that high level told them, right? And it's like, well, high level themselves doesn't follow that advice because they're all tailored to digital agency owners who want to resell. They're very niche down, whether they think they are or not, right? And in doing so, they have created the ultimate product for us to resell. And who is in the same space as high level? Name one high level competitor that's in the same space as them. You could say
ClickFunnels,
maybe
but they're kind of ass.
ClickFunnels, but all they do is the funnel side of it. They don't do any reselling. They're not for the digital agency owner. They're for the digital agency specifically or the business specifically. They're for funnel specifically. They are not for the digital agency owner to resell to new clients. There's nobody in the same space as high level right now. There's a few people emerging. They're very, very small, but high level is just going to crush them because they can't catch up. High level's created their own 0 to 1 niche. So to me, it's funny when they're like, and high level themselves is very bad at marketing high level. Who markets high level? Affiliates.
Affiliates.
Yeah. Have you seen high levels ads for themselves? They're
So
terrible.
bad.
So bad. They even brought on who's the guy who does the SMMA? Joel Kaplan. They even brought on Joel Kaplan, ran an ad with him in it, and it
Yeah.
has only 3,000 likes.
He's promising that thing in like January or like December or whatever.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that? He's like, it has zero competition. It's not gonna have zero competition the minute you drop it. And so all these people who have shiny object syndrome, that's something that's kind of rubbing me the wrong way about him as a creator right now. It's like he's getting into targeting the people who have shiny object syndrome.
That's
I
kind of what ClickFunnels did. They got like Cardone on and everyone, and just like
yeah,
they're doing the
Cardone and
shiny object.
who's the Shark Tank guy?
Yeah, Michael Dame or like whatever his name is. Or
Mhm.
Damien. Yeah, I don't
Damien
know.
something. It's Damien
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
but
I
yeah.
butchered that.
I said Mark.
Yeah, and Michael said it's making him stupid money. It does make him stupid money. The problem is if it doesn't work out well, it's going to burn his online reputation. Now, will it burn it so much that he won't make money? No, he'll probably still make a ton of money. But when people look at online entrepreneurs, who do they love? Gary V. Hormozy. Who's the number one fitness guy right now? Sam Sulek. Why? Because the dude is authentic. He does not doing it for the money. He's not doing it for a quick buck. These guys that are falling to the wayside of doing that, they're gonna burn their reputation. And what's crazy is, what's really crazy? They've got Mr. Beast just announced that he's changing his YouTube strategy, and guess what he's doing with his new YouTube strategy?
Maybe
It's
being more authentic, or
that's it.
Yeah.
What have I been telling you guys for the past like 7, 8 months?
be yourself.
Be yourself, be authentic. Don't go over the top. Don't go salesy. Have the value there. They'll watch it if they watch it. And then you've got guys like Sam Sulek coming out, going viral, and he's been making content longer than I have. So I'm not by any means saying he's got it from me. That'd be the stupidest comment I could ever make. But you have guys like Sam Sulek coming out who are making content just like that, going viral. Mr. Beast is saying we've got to rechange our content. I just watched a video from the head of VaynerMedia's buying yeah, he's the head of media buying for VaynerMedia. So that's Gary V's company. He just came out and said the new way of content creation is going to be exactly what I've been telling you guys this whole time.
That kind of meant, I remember, I think I told you briefly this, but like when I was talking to those insurance guys about content, they're like, yeah, so what should we do? Should we like go rent Lambos in Vegas and like do some? I'm like, bro, you're actually doing the opposite of what I'm about to tell you. I'm like, I want you to set up a camera in a half decent room and then spend a week writing like scripts and like stuff on very authentic things. Like,
Yep.
and I gave him the Hermosi example. I'm like, you guys all watch Hermosi for money advice and stuff. Like, have you ever seen him even like have a watch on in his videos? It's just a
Bro,
blurred background.
His
exactly.
fucking nose strip.
Yeah,
It's a
literally.
no strip. It's a no strip, Crocs, a wife beater, and a flannel. I don't even know I don't even know where he lives to be recording content in that outfit
I have
24/7.
no idea where Alex lives actually.
Yeah, I don't know what he drives. I don't know where he lives. It's always the same outfit. That's branding. That's like look at Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, always the red watch. Look at me. I have a beard and a backwards hat in every single video.
And the
I wear
Crocs.
and the Crocs. Exactly. You already know. I don't even have to finish it. You already know. I got like 4 pairs of Crocs over here looking at me. But it's just a matter of just being authentic. And then if you're truly authentic, it's hard for people to, when I say people, I mean everybody. It's hard for everybody to hate you. People are going to love you or they're going to dislike you. Everybody hates people who are salesy and scammy. But even who's that dude? Who's the guy who does like a fitness and car sales and his clothes are like tighter than saran wrap? Bald dude. You guys know who I'm talking about? He's always like, where's the
I think
energy?
I
High
Oh
do.
God,
energy.
what's his name?
Oh man.
People love him though. Well, some people love him, some people can't stand him. Look at Grant Cardone. Everybody with a third grade reading level loves that dude. Everybody who likes it. If you like picture books, bro, Grant is your man. I can't stand the dude, but guess what? He makes way more money than I do. He has a brand, right? It's somebody phrased it really well. I think it's the guy who does the future YouTube videos. It's the Asian guy, shaved head. He does branding and logos. He's
I don't know.
I'll find his name. He's like you guys have probably seen his content. He's like super smart at what he does. Oh, he just popped up on my feed. What is it? Chris Doe or Chris Do. I don't know how you pronounce it. If you look him up, you'll recognize him right away. But it's something he talked about. So I've been telling you guys antithetical claims. He said when you're branding, you need to be polarizing. You basically need people to either like you or dislike you. But you can't appease to everybody, otherwise you appease to nobody. And then if nobody likes you, that's even worse than being hated because you have zero audience, zero attention. And for people who are like, well, I don't want to be hated, bro, Hitler has fans to this day. Has fans to this day. I'm gonna give you guys one that might even strike a nerve with some of you guys. I don't think so, but I'll say it anyway. Does anybody know how long the Confederacy lasted?
Mm,
It was like
7 years.
it was like 4 years.
People still got the flags.
Oh,
Bro, I have body hair older than that. In places you guys already know where I'm referencing. Dude, and they will still like swear up and down like the South will rise again. Like hell yeah, brother. Like they love that stuff. 4 years old. And they'll be like, nah, it wasn't racist. I promise it wasn't racist. It was like states' rights. It's like a states' rights about what? Owning people? Like, yeah, it's not a good look, right? And they will put
they
that on
love
their
that
belts.
comeback.
Bro, they'll put that on their belts, their hats, their t-shirt. They'll brand it on themselves like their cattle. Like absolutely wild. Okay. So when people talk about like, well, I don't want to be polarizing, I don't want to be like people are gonna hate me. If you are authentic, if you are kind, if you're gentle, if you are meaningful, if you throw in their dry humor, if you add disclaimers, like if the neo-Nazis find my content, sure, they're gonna probably send me some messages. I don't care. Like go for it, buddy. Like I'll just make a TikTok out of it and get even more attention, right? Like it's just about like just being true to yourself. And if you are who you say you are and you're acting the way that you are acting on a regular basis, then you should have no shame about being that way publicly. If you have shame about being it publicly, you should probably change who you are privately, right? Like if you're religious, be religious. There's a guy in SASO University who was like, "Hey, I have a channel and I talk about all these different things. Like, should I not talk about this?" And I'm like, "No, that's who you are." He's like, I talk about Christianity and I talk about business. Like, no, there's people online who they focus on working exclusively with Christian business owners. We have people in the community who are extremely devout Muslim. If that's who you are in your branding, inject that into your branding, right? There's people who are extremely liberal, extremely democratic, extremely conservative, extremely Republican. Who hasn't seen the videos when they're like just ripping apart Republicans and Democrats at their own rallies? And they're like, nah, it's bad to have kids in cages. Obama didn't do that. And it's like, and then they like show the pictures of it, and it's like, ugh. And then they're like, nah, MAGA isn't racist. And then they have like, I don't know, they insert somebody like saying the most racist thing ever. Like it's both sides. It's polarizing. Like who you don't tell me because I don't want you to like out your parents. But like if you have a parent who's extremely political one way or another, I promise you they refuse to watch the other network. If you have a Fox parent, I promise you they'll never watch CNN a day in their life. The second that turns on, they'll be like, turn this trash off. If you have a CNN parent and Fox comes on, they'll be like, nah, get them racists off my TV. I promise, like it's that polarizing. And I'm pretty sure they're owned by the same company because they know polarizing content works. It's making people pick a side. So you can do that in being who you are in your own branding. And it's one of the most effective things you can do. So for you guys, I would say like understand who you're speaking to. Be yourself, but also you have to resonate with them. Use analogies they understand to explain things they don't understand. Draw the dots, draw the connections, and then I want to map out how you guys are going to hit that 10K point because that's really the easiest part. Like when I say those things, it's more so to get people on the call because once they get on the call, we go, cool, what's holding you back? If you're not at 5 or 10K yet, whatever's holding you back is the bottleneck. So when people are like, well, how do I get to 10K? It's like, cool, this is the process. Where are you in this process, or what have you not done in this process? That's the answer. What's holding you back? Like if you're like, I can't squat 400 pounds. It's like, cool, can you squat 375 or 365? Okay, you can't do that. Can you squat 345? Okay, cool. Where are we? Okay, cool. You're stuck at 315. Where are you stuck at 315 in the lift? Cool. That's the part of the lift that you need to start destroying or training or improving, and let's figure out why you're failing at that part. Cool. And that's all it is, just addressing the bottlenecks and getting super, super microscopic with what it is. Now, this is why I like the community setting. And obviously, this sounds like a sales pitch, but hear me out. This is why I like the community setting because it's very, very difficult, even for myself, for you to be honest with yourself and for you to be self-reflecting honestly. Not always because we don't want to do that and we want confirmation bias, but sometimes we're just not aware, right? We're not aware. Like I'm not the tallest guy, and I'll look at people who are like 6'5", and in my mind, we're the exact same height. I don't see it. And my wife will be like, "Oh, look at this picture, you guys. Like that dude is huge." And I'm like, "Oh, in my mind, we're the same height. Like I thought we're talking eye to eye to him, right?" Like I don't see height differences at all in my mind. I need somebody else to be like, "Look at this picture." Like that dude is huge, right? So it's the same thing in business. You in a social setting, in a group coaching setting, sometimes other people will speak and it will help you reflect yourself and be like, "Ooh, I'm in the same spot." Or, "Ooh, I was in the same spot. Let me help him or her now." Or it's like, I don't know where I'm stuck. And it's like, cool, where are you? And then you start spouting it off, and we're all looking at each other like, it's kind of obvious. And you're like, where am I stuck? Where am I stuck? And you're like, bro, like, obviously you're stuck right here. It's like, oh. So that's why I like the social settings because it's just way more beneficial. When you guys ask questions, that's why I'm always like, hey, drop them in the group because other people might be able to provide context that maybe I'm not seeing or that have worked for them. Or in asking a simple question, it might be like, oh, okay, you know what? I thought I wanted this, but this is actually what I need to do. So I do want to map out the path a little bit for you guys. Do you guys have any other questions just while we hit the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, I got one question. I should have elaborated on the question further in relation to the loyalty program, but I guess I was gonna finish that question by saying, do you believe that high level itself has robust, obviously their automation capability is like what makes and breaks it. Do you believe that it's robust enough to create a proper referral and loyalty program? Again, I've looked at a ton of the
Not
Facebook
in
group.
not in their own software.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And here's the best part. This is the part where like a lot of people will, and I'm not saying this to put you down by any mean, but a lot of people will sometimes look to me for certain answers. There's some there's some parts where it's a matter of strictly just testing. Like you could send me a script of a
That's
of a
facts.
of a TikTok and I could be like, that looks awful. And then you're like, well, this was actually the script of somebody who went viral. So there's certain things where testing comes into play. There's certain things where processes and mentalities need to take priority, right? And then it's a matter of once you have those put in place and you understand the map and the process and the plan and you have your own project plan, then from there it's a matter of how do I actually execute and I need to learn as I go. And if anybody, me included, if I tell you this is the right way, that's the wrong way. If anybody tells you that when it comes to like content creation, when it comes to certain fields, it's a huge red flag that they have no idea what they're actually talking about. Huge red flag. I will tell you guys straight up as a beginner, you should not run ads, you should not solicit, you should not cold call, you should not cold email. They're not scalable, they cost time, they cost money. That's where social media comes into play. I can tell you when it comes to social media, map out the chronological order of priorities in terms of this is the earliest issue I see people have. Once they solve that, it unlocks the next problem. That should be your first piece of long form content. But then the exact specifics, should I try highlighting my titles or not highlighting? Test it. Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah. Don't
Should I
look
try
deep
this
for
thumbnail,
everything.
that thumbnail?
Just
Yeah.
like have the gut feeling and just rock with it.
And I'll even and I like that because even like some people be like, some people will ask me questions and I already know they already have an answer they put in their mind. Like somebody asked me today, they're like, do I really have to do social media? Like, can I just do ads? And it's like, why are you asking me? You've already made up your mind. Like, go do ads. If it works, great. If it doesn't work because you haven't done ads in this industry before and it fails, at least now you're going to be more open to what I'm trying to tell you. But sometimes for some people, even for some clients, they're like, I want to do it this way. It's like, okay, we're going to do it that way. Here's what's going to happen. Here's my prediction. If it happens, just know I told you about that. And I don't want you leaving because we did what you wanted when I advised against it. See, in like the comment right now, like that Michael sent, like that's where I like the group setting because imagine how long it might take for Michael to solve that problem when you're about to solve it yourself, right? And then that can fast track his results. And then the law of reciprocation, next time Michael's like, oh, hey, we're in similar fields. I found this part within the software. Christian, here's a heads up. Christian might be like, oh, okay, cool. I was doing it completely backwards, right? Yeah, exactly. See, and that's where I like the setting because that's just going to motivate more people. So for you guys, this is exactly what you guys need to focus on. This is what's holding most people back from 5 to 10K. It is literally just this two-part process. Yes, I could break this down, but this is the two-part process. So for you guys, if you don't already, this needs to be put in place, your own client retention model. If I send you 100 clients, do you have what you need to maintain and mitigate that? So you need a simple funnel. You need a calendar. You need a title of what you're doing. We covered this on one of the group calls. You need a title of what you're doing. You need a 3-step process. I don't care. Like SASO is a 4-step process. I've worked with a client who had an 8-step process. I've worked with clients who have 14 steps process. You always break it into 3 steps, which is step 1. What is the first thing we're going to do? Step 2, what does it look like working with us? Step 3, what does it look like getting the benefits? Those are your 3 steps. So step 1, here's how you sign up and work with us. Step 2, here's what we do. Step 3, here are the benefits you get. I don't care if you have a 3,000 step process. You break it down into those 3 steps. Then you have your VSL, or you have your, not your VSL, you have your case studies. And then below that, you have an FAQ. In the back end of your calendar, when they book a call with you, you have a nurture campaign. If they don't show, you have a no-show campaign. If they do show and they close, you add a tag. The tag triggers the onboarding campaign. The onboarding campaign basically says, we're going to book another call. On this call, I'm going to read off a list of questions. You're going to answer them. That's going to give me all the information we need to do it live. In the past, I was saying like you could send them a form. You could still do that technically, but I would just say, hey, let's set up another call. We'll knock out the onboarding very quickly. I'll do it for you. It's a little bit more efficient. You get all the questions you need, right? So you need this put in place. Then you need to focus on this, the client acquisition model. And this needs to be done every single day, which is, I just dropped a video on it, which is YouTube. And then you have short form, which pushes to YouTube. YouTube pushes to a form or funnel URL. This is stuff I've been talking about for a while. Form URL or a funnel URL. And then you have DMs. You can say DM me if you want access, and then in the DMs, you're either pushing them to the social if they're not interested in working with you yet, which pushes them back to YouTube, which pushes them back to the DMs, or it pushes them to YouTube, which pushes them to the forum, or in the DMs, you do your inbound sales process and go, okay, cool, we're going to book a call. And in the sales process, you basically just look at the step 5 training, which tells you current state, future state, whatever you like, why, what is the reason and rhyme behind where you're trying to do and what you're trying to attain. What's holding you back? What have you tried in the past? Can I show you how we fix it? Let's hop on a call and show you how we fix it. And then you try to get them on the call. And then once they book the call, guess what? You have the nurture campaign and everything. This right here, yes, you can continuously improve this, but this is a one-time setup. This is infinite. This is infinite. So you need to make sure this, you can set this up. You can set this whole thing up inside of 1 week. 7 days, you can set this whole thing up. 7 days at the most. Now, that's as a beginner. If you've been doing this for a while, like Christian, I think he just rebuilt for a niche he just pivoted to. I think he said it took him like, it was like a few days to, the assignment I gave him was like, you could change this within 3 days. Right? Because he's already done it before. The first time it was like a 7-day, 2-week process at the most. Once this is set in place, this is infinite. This becomes infinite. The client acquisition model, which is just this YouTube strategy, social media strategy. And then as you're doing this, if you notice there's issues here, you're like, this isn't smooth, or, oh, I'm missing this, or, somebody fell through the cracks. You just improve this as you go. Here's the 4 biggest issues that I see with people who fail. Okay. There's the 4 biggest issues that I see with people who fail. And that's how I'll end this off. And then I'll see if you have any other questions. Okay. Number 1, and let's make this a big font so you guys can read it. Number 1 reason people fail. No, I don't know what just happened there. No systemized, proven process. They have no idea what they're doing. They're very new. They haven't done this before. There's no process. There's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. So for us, the systemized process is the 7-step client acquisition model, right? Niching down, building your digital assets, creating content to increase to increase your position as an expert, reaching out, dirty scaling your first 25 to 50 clients, sales call process, creating your case studies and reintegrating those, and then the business improving as you go. There's your systemized proven process. Number 2, they don't follow it. This one drives me up a wall because they'll go, all of your content worked on me and it all makes sense, but I don't want to follow it. This is a mental barrier. Mental. This is experience. So bear with me because you're going to see something really interesting here. So number 1 is just experience. Number 2 is they don't follow. This is a mental barrier. Number 3, they don't follow it consistently. Guess what this is? A mental, I'm just going to leave it in parentheses, mental barrier again. I know the process. I made 3 videos, haven't made a single video since. But why am I not getting clients? I'm doing a whole bunch of outbound. I'm doing a whole bunch of outreach. People love, I don't know what the obsession is with outreach. They want a cold call. They want a cold, they think if I'm working, it's going to go faster. Guess what? If you're working, it's going to go faster. That means there's no systemized process in place or you're not following the systemized process. And what's number 4? They don't reinvest into the business. This is mental and experience. Who here has worked with a client that was an absolute nightmare?
Oh my gosh.
My first 3 were horrible.
Great. That should probably tell you I need to invest in the business so that way I don't have to do the fulfillment and I can push this off to somebody else. I don't care how much. I had a client over the weekend. I kid you not. I was so close to giving this client all of their money back. and saying, I never want to work with you again. It was such a pain in the butt. It was not a $97 a month client. It was not a $297 a month client. It was like a $5,200 client. Okay. I was ready to fire them. I was so aggravated by the process. I'm not going to go into details, but it was such a nightmare. There's no amount of money to deal with a difficult customer. None. So reinvesting the business allows me to let other people deal with that. And then I can play counselor and coach, and I can manage the individual who's having to deal with them, and I can basically make it worth their time. That basically ties it right back into the contractor situation, the subcontractors, right? I can make it worth their time. So now they're like, oh, I love it. For me, it's aggravating because it's my business, it's my baby. I've seen clients who will hit 6 figures and then they don't want to reinvest and they end up doing all the work themselves. But guess what? They get stuck at 6 figures because they don't want to reinvest. And it's both of these things. If they have the experience, they will reinvest every single time. So it's a lack of experience. When they don't have the experience, it's a mental barrier because they do not have the experience. And so because they don't have the experience and they don't reinvest, it's scary. It's like, I was making 5K a month every month. I want to keep all 5K of it. This is called, in case you guys don't know, this is called sharpening the saw. Okay. Sharpening the saw. This is like 48 laws of power. Was it like 48? Yeah. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think it's like 48 laws of power,
Yeah,
whatever.
great
Okay,
book.
great. So in that book, they talk about sharpening the saw, right? When you sharpen a saw, what happens to the blade? Or not? Yeah, yeah. When you sharpen the saw, what happens to the blade? It's going to get sharper, right? When you use a saw, what happens to the blade?
Dull.
Dolls out.
Dulls. Does a dull blade cut well?
No.
What is the action you have to do with a saw to cut something? You
Back
gotta
and forth
back and
motion.
yeah, back and forth motion. If you are not moving the saw, are you cutting anything?
Mm-mm.
No. So what happens is they go, I'm not moving the saw back and forth, so I'm not cutting. That's bad. You're cutting with a dull blade. And this is again 48 laws of power, right? Or whatever the book's called. If you took time to sharpen your blade, how much faster could you cut down that tree? Do you think that if you stopped, sharpened your blade, and got back to work, you would cut it faster or slower than if you kept cutting with a dull blade? It can be faster.
Faster, yeah, sharpening it.
So what happens is as you'll start making these guys money, and you'll go, cool. Now is the time to this is the look at SASO, the 7-step process. What is step 8? It's a 7-step process. What's step 8? Pivot into paid outreach. Pivot into paid marketing. Pivot into bringing in VAs. Pivot into bringing in a team. Even if you had a team to begin with, pivot into fully automating the whole process. And they're gonna go, but I'm gonna lose money. That's your blade is dull. You've got to pivot. I've seen this with digital agencies. I've seen this with videography companies. I've seen this with lawn care companies. I've seen this with industrial cleaning companies. I've seen this with nonprofit youth sports organizations. People are terrified. They start getting a taste of money and they are absolutely terrified to stop sawing and go sharpen the blade because they think this action right here, they think this equals money. That's the big issue. They go, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. It's going to make me money. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So for you guys, if we're looking at this together, you have a systemized proven process and you have somebody whose brain you can pick 24/7 about it, right? I think the slowest I've ever taken to respond to a message is like 2 hours or if I'm asleep. If you have a process, follow it. Even if you're like, I'm nervous, it's not going to work. Follow it. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. The only way to not skin a cat is to change methods every 2 seconds. If you're going to follow it, do yourself a favor and follow it consistently. If you're not following it consistently, you don't want it bad enough. That's a fact of the matter. I remember I would drive an hour and a half to work both ways. So it was 3 hours in the car, working an 8-hour shift, coming back, and I would still find time to work 20, 30 minutes on the business. If you're a single mother of 4, I'm not going to tell you what to do because I'm not in that position. But for the people on the call and in this group, I know for a fact nobody's in a position where you're like nonstop having to work multiple jobs and sustain an entire family by yourself. I'm not going to tell those people what to do because I don't even know what I would do in that situation. But these are the four things that are holding you back. And I guarantee, and I'm not saying this to out anybody. I'm not saying speak up and we'll roast you. But I guarantee if you guys are in this position, I guarantee you that if I said, let's look at your social media, let's look at your back end, I guarantee that if you are not hitting 5K every month minimum, I guarantee you it's one of these issues. I say, well, I'm doing the process, but I'm in the process. You guys are all here. So this is not you guys because you're all here, right? If you're under 5K, it's one of these issues. And I would say for these two, this is really it for 5K. If you're stuck under 10K, this would be you right here. So really, if you're under 5K, it's one of these two. And it might be a third, which is like you're in the process of following it. You just started following it. So I will give you that. You just started following it. But if you have been following it for a while, it's going to be one of these. It's going to be these two. It's going to be 2 and 3. And if you're at 5 or 6K and you're not scaling further, you're going to get stuck. That's why I cannot stand cold calling, because cold calling, cold emailing, that's what's preventing you from going here. Especially cold calling, because what's the answer to go from 5 to 10K? It's to reinvest so you can increase inputs. Hormozy 101. You cannot increase inputs on cold calling without hiring somebody to do the cold calling for you. But you've been the one perfecting the script, so now you're giving to somebody else. They've got to learn. You're gonna have a massive, basically there's a lot of hurdles in doing that. Pay somebody full time to do cold calling. You got to make sure there's zero accent depending on the industry you're dealing in. There's a lot of hurdles to look at. Like if you're doing blue collar and you've got an accent, it's not going to help you out unless that accent is thick country. Any questions on this as we wrap up?
Yeah, super brief, just because I forgot the answer you told me yesterday.
What's up?
You said for the initial setup fee, anywhere from 2 to 4K, right?
Yeah, for yours, yeah.
Okay, dope.
Look at all the things they want put together, the potentials. Find it on Fiverr, 3 to 5x it. But
I got
I
the tech
wouldn't.
skills though, so you said on the training to just do it
It still
yourself.
tells you the pricing. It still tells you the pricing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they basically didn't really tell me what they want. I told them what they needed because a ton of the questions I asked today, they were like, "Yeah, we don't have this." So I basically told them what they need.
Put together transparent pricing, put together the estimated hours, and put together just a flat rate that you would go with that.
And
If
then
if
after I get
if
that set up, then I
if
would
they want a breakdown, if they don't want a breakdown, just say like, oh, this is the price we'll do it for. If they say we want a breakdown, then you can map it out and just have it map out to the number you gave them.
got it.
But you can, like Chris Doe says, are you like, why do you want to know the breakdown of the pricing? Well, we want to know how much we're paying per hour. Okay, so do you value time or do you value the quality? And this is Chris Doe 101. If I gave you this product right now in 2 minutes for 4K, wouldn't you value that more than if I took 80 hours doing it? And they're like, yeah. Well, it's like, okay, so the priority is not, in fact, how much time I spend on it, but the priority is, in fact, the quality of what I provide you. So if I solve this, it's like you've heard the analogy. I think we've talked about this before. The plumber who comes in and hits the pipe in 2 spots. And he goes, all right, that's
Yeah,
$200. And they're like, whoa, why is it
just
200
knows where
bucks?
to hit it.
There you go. So what I'll say is I'll be like, hey, the price is what the price is. Go look up Chris Doe, his YouTube. You'll see him when you see him, you'll know who it is. Chris Doe. It's Do. But he pronounces it Doe, I think. Or maybe I just look stupid. But his YouTube account is Future without an E. So it's Futur. And look up what he does about price objections. It's a perfectly said video. The price is what the price is. And then they go into the objections and he goes, okay, cool. So, and then he goes through the whole thing, but that would be a really good video for you to see. What it'll tell you is that the price means absolutely nothing, but what the price does is everything.
Got
Like,
it.
I was telling you yesterday, right? How many people are in the coaching program, and there's 3 or 4 people who you've never seen because they just never took it seriously. And I made sure ahead of time, listen, there's no refunds on this, so don't join if you don't want to join. It's gonna be a waste of my time, waste of your time. All of them assured me, no, I want in. No, I'm not gonna do a refund. I was like $1,800 I just made because people cannot commit. So the
Should
price
we
will make them commit sometimes.
should we have a contract or do we just hone in on
Yes.
like okay.
Yeah. Have a contract.
You have a
Have it.
template, right, of that?
Yeah, there's a template. Do a
Okay.
conditional and an unconditional guarantee. Unconditional is within 7 days. If you get buyer's remorse, I'll give you all your money back. Within 30 days, I'll have the whole thing set up. That's all you have to do is set everything up. If you could set up the whole thing in a week. You say within 30 days, I'll have the whole thing set up.
Wait, that's a guarantee?
That's a conditional guarantee. If I don't have the whole thing set up within 30 days, I'll give you your money back.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. And then just to like hone in on this, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I just want to make sure any client acquisition stuff cannot be done until the retention and
Correct.
conversion mechanism is set up.
Correct. And that
And
will be the 30-day process.
okay. And that so because I told them because they asked me on the call today, what would you do for acquisition? I said local SEO and local
Google
PPC
local ads.
ads.
Perfect.
But that would be so would I have a 30-day buffer period until I tell them that we're ready to do this? Or would
I would.
I? Okay. Okay.
Make sure that's foolproof because once you turn on that faucet, you want to make sure you keep every drop that comes out.
What do you mean by that?
If you have I'll give you the analogy and I'll give you the breakdown. If you don't have a bottom to your cup and you pour water in it, it's going to go straight through. You're not going to hold any of it, right? You want to make sure that cup is strong and has a bottom. That is your retention model. It's the bottom of the glass. Otherwise, if you don't have a bottom of your glass and you start sending customers, those are burnt leads because if they have a bad experience, that's going to be a bad review. That's going to be a negative review. That's going to make it harder to market. If they are lost, that's lost money and they'll never come back because they had a bad experience, right? So you want to make sure that client retention model retains them perfectly. Then you cut the water on.
Right. So the guys I spoke to were like pretty antsy about lead gen. So I should tell them like, listen, we shouldn't focus on lead gen until about 30 to 60 days after this is set up.
No. Once it's set up, it's game on.
Oh, game on?
The
Okay.
minute it's set up, go. And you can
All right.
kickstart it with a database reactivation.
Okay. Okay. I got to learn some of that local
There's
PPC then.
hundreds of videos on database reactivation. You
Oh,
send an
well,
email out. You send an email out.
that I'm
Hey, here's
familiar with. Just
yeah,
like the
yeah.
local PPC, I'm not. So I got to kind of go
Find
on
a white
YouTube.
label. Find a white label fulfillment center. Have them do the work for you.
Not Fiverr.
You can go Fiverr too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But just
You
have the
can
basics kind of like dialed in so they can't, like rip me off and shit.
understand the language. Don't master that. You're not going to
Okay.
master it in 20 days.
Okay.
So don't learn the language, get an idea of pricing, and then that way you can have guidelines. Be quick to hire, be quick to fire.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. All through Fiverr, so they don't screw you over, or you can just go straight to a white label agency and you'll know it's done right. Do you mind sharing what they're going to pay you per month?
Yeah. So basically, um, so the questions that I'll try to keep this brief. The questions that I got set up on the avatar analysis, when I told them before the meeting, it would be 45 minutes. My questions went overboard. So basically, I have to have a second call with them because that was my bad. I didn't map out the estimate of time per question.
Gotcha.
So we didn't really get the price, but I'm already like dialed in. I'm going to tell them, listen, it's 1998 and then 298 per month for the one-time setup fee.
298 is way too low per month. If you're doing client acquisition for them, it's
Oh,
way.
no. I'm talking about just like the client retention. So like,
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
yeah. And then in terms of the acquisition, I don't know what I would offer them, to be honest. I
998 a
haven't.
month.
Okay. Okay,
You
got
have
it.
to, so go look at right now, right after this call, go look at white label fulfillment agencies for local ad gen. Go
And then
look at
triple the
Fiverr
price.
for the fulfillment center. I would just add a little buffer. I wouldn't go crazy with it. For Fiverr, that's where I would triple the price.
Triple. Okay, got it.
We triple for Fiverr because if you have to manage him and if he dips, you need to be able to bring somebody else in very quickly. With the white label fulfillment center, they're usually extremely high quality. So the price might be a little bit higher anyway. So they might be like, hey, it's $498 a month, and then you're gonna whatever they give you, I would probably double it or at least add 50%.
And do you have any recommendations on those centers or just look it up?
I don't, but Michael has been doing quite a bit of reading. There's the comment. Hit up Michael.
Got you. All right, so we'll exchange
Yeah.
info on the loyalty thing and then on that too.
Okay,
Yeah.
just text me.
If
All right,
you go
cool.
into if you don't have his number, go in SASO University, look at members, you'll find him, and then you can add him and message him from the group. Yeah, Grant, last question, then we'll dip.
So when I was doing like writing down my SOPs in terms of like service pricing and all that,
Hmm.
I kind of caught myself like kind of like making like lower tiers of the service when I don't think I should probably be doing that.
No,
Yeah, because I was
neurosurgeon
like,
effect,
because
right?
I was almost thinking like, okay, there's local SEO like full, and then there's like, and then there's just like dealing with the Google listing. You know what I
Like,
mean?
yeah. So think about this: is it worth your time to go into the gym, warm up, and never hit your working sets?
No, exactly. Like if I can't bring you the results I like to bring my clients, then I'm not going to take the work.
And they'll respect you for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine paying for a Lamborghini and like it doesn't even
Mhm.
leave the lot.
Yeah, and also it doesn't really match up with like the contractors I've connected with. I've gotten their SOP papers and their
Yeah.
monthly rates, and in order, and I don't want to go away from those the professionals SOPs.
Yeah. And what you
One
do is to
because
change your pricing. Look, you can change it based on how many pages you're managing. If it's like a 20, 50 page website, that's going to be very different, right?
yeah,
20
yeah,
versus 50. So let those things dictate. Let the scope dictate in terms of what I'm dealing with. Don't let the timeline dictate. Never let them rush you. Don't also drag your feet. Don't
hmm
let the budget rush you. The budget's either it's in there or it's not in there. And so you can say
yeah,
things like if the budget has to go down, the deliverables have to go down, but you cannot let them go down too low to the point where it becomes ineffective.
yeah. To where it's not bringing results.
Yeah. So like in the gym, I could do 2 working sets, I could do 5 working sets. People will argue all day about that. I
Uh huh.
can't do 0 working sets. So I cannot go below a certain amount of working sets, right? I can't go
Okay,
below a
okay,
certain amount of intensity or volume, right? Same
okay,
thing. And so
and
you
all
need to find that analogy for your industry. Like
okay, yeah,
it's not worth it to them to come out and build the foundation of a home without the house, right? That'd be
yeah,
ridiculous. So it's like like what you're asking for, you're asking for the foundation and no home. Nobody would pay for that in their right mind. And me being me and me doing things the way I want to do things and me being professional and me valuing and respecting you as an individual, I'm not going to sell you just the foundation.
yeah. And I can't really think of what how low I would even go be like lower because within the SEO service is on and off
Right.
page SEO. So
Right.
I don't
And
think I
you're
would
going
even
to
go below any
as
of
you
that.
start, you're going to get it wrong at one point.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't ever get it wrong. What I'm saying is when, not if, when you get it wrong, you will. I do all the time. When you get it wrong, learn from it. Document it so you don't forget it and then move on.
As in get the service wrong or
Service wrong, pricing wrong, you speak to the client the wrong way, you call them, contact them the wrong way, you're too slow, you're too fat, any and everything.
yeah, basically what's dictating the SEO services price is my SEO expert's monthly rate
Buckle that in and you
times
explain
5
this is why.
times 3
Yeah.
to 5.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 5 because
Start with times three,
yeah,
scale
okay.
with each one as you get more and more confident.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And I have a
also,
go ahead.
oh yeah, continue. You can
No,
go
you're
first.
go ahead.
Well, it's kind of off topic, so if you have something
Oh, yeah.
else.
All I was going to say is
Yeah.
the next training that I have coming out is going to be on price justification. And we talk about level of confidence and past experience reflecting that we can do what we said we're going to do. As your
Yeah,
confidence is lower, your price needs to be lower. As you get more and more confident, your price needs to shoot up. That's another reason why case studies are the strongest marketing asset.
yeah, because I found myself doing like, well, I can have just the Google listing management package. I'm like, that's pointless. They're going to churn easily from that
Yeah, because
because it's
somebody else
not
will
going
come along and say, "Hey, what he's doing is not enough. Let me show you how we can do enough."
to
But what we're doing is
exactly,
going to cost exactly. So by being off on the offense, you're also on the defense. And if you want to be defensive, you have to be offensive.
of course. And
Yeah,
then also for the other service, not including funnel systems, and then obviously the SEO,
yeah,
I want to do some type of content service because I see it like having aesthetics with in terms of a contracting brand is pretty important because it's
yeah.
showing the work that they're portraying. It's very
Have that
important
be
for that
part of your
industry.
client acquisition. Have it be an add-on to your client acquisition package. So what I
Yeah,
like to
for
do is I'll
sure.
have like tiers within it, but boil it down to those two models.
Okay, so you're saying kind of have the SEO, have that as the acquisition, but have them separate. There's the content
This is what I
service
would
and
do.
SEO.
I would have package one is the minimum that they need to succeed. local SEO, Google local ads, PPC campaign to a PPC funnel. Package 2 is you start getting into social media marketing, organic and paid. So we create the content, we test the content, we push the content via ads, and that's where you can come out and you can have an organic social media package and a paid social media package. But you need to
Yeah,
have it
so
mapped out
my
in a
whole
way where it makes sense and where it's not overly complicated. Don't give them a cheesecake menu. What is it? The cheesecake, what's that restaurant called? Cheesecake Factory?
Cheesecake Factory.
Don't give them a
Yeah.
26-page menu. Keep it limited and make it intentional with what you're doing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
My main idea was to go fully organic on any platform I'm doing it with, like as in terms of my SEO services. I don't want to get involved in. I want to have like a partner. I'm gonna find
Right.
someone that I can refer to, like how you were saying.
Yeah.
So like a strategic partnership for the paid side, and then have like an agreement with the referral payout and stuff.
Gotcha.
So
And you learn as you go because you may say, hey, I actually want to get rid of the SEO package and I actually just want to do content creation for these guys. So we build the funnel and then we use organic traffic strictly. And if they want the local package and they want paid package, we'll actually bring on somebody as a partner. And then the partner will pay you and you don't have to worry about managing. So they don't
for
come to you
sure.
like why isn't this working? You're like, oh, let me talk to the team. You're like, hey team, like I don't know what you guys are doing, but what's going on? Now you're just like, hey, I'm gonna bring in this guy. It's a separate company, and they pay two
No,
agents.
yeah, I could totally see it going that way because I would
Yeah,
probably get a lot better like on the content side. But
yeah.
with the content service itself, I was thinking so there's like a done with you kind of thing that I want to offer, which um meaning I give them the scripts and like production, like I give them scripts and like production like guidance and stuff
Yeah,
through
yeah,
documents and calls. They basically they
yeah.
basically do
DM
it
me
all
after
there.
this. DM me after this. I'm gonna send you a guy's social media profile. I want you to funnel hack him,
Okay.
and I want you to even hit him up as a potential client to get his pricing and figure out what he does. I'm gonna send. I don't want to say the name here, but I'm gonna hit me up. I'll send you his social media. I want you to
Okay.
DM him as if you were a client and funnel
All right.
hack him.
Perfect.
And if anybody's like, that's not good, I could care less.
No, I've done it like 30 times, but
I could care less. Yeah, this is business. And the guy is super cool. He's super chill. But pose as if you are the client that you want to target, and I want you to see how he handles you. Dude is phenomenal. He's awesome.
okay. Um
That will answer all the questions for you that you're asking.
okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
but basically for the done for you, I was also thinking like a done for you. There's like kind of two tiers to it because there is services out there that can kind of make the that client like kind of stocky footage or stocky stuff, but like it fills it up for them. So if they just
I'm telling you, everything you're asking, it's exactly what he does.
okay,
When
and then
you
I was
ask
even
and position yourself like them, I'm telling you, he'll answer every question you've ever had. Just
all
talking
right,
to him one time blew my mind. It's gonna do the same to you.
all right, bet yeah, I'll leave it to that then.
Yeah, he even does it all through like online meetings. He doesn't even see them in person, and it's still like extremely effective.
All right, that's
I'm
sick.
talking about like a couple thousand a month per client.
Oh wow, yeah,
Pick
no, it's
two of the
very hard
three
to.
local SEO.
Yeah, I'll just say it. My bad.
Do
I
all
know it's super
three.
late. But
Do all three.
okay. What's the difference? This is probably a dumb question, but what's the difference between
When
local
you
PPC and then PPC?
there's no difference. When you research it, local PPC is going to be the Google Map Pack where it says verified check mark.
Oh, okay.
PPC is the top search results. You can do all three for a really comprehensive package. You can
Got
even
it.
look up something called SBO. It's called search bar optimization. They start typing in holistic medicine, your guy appears in the search bar.
Ooh,
It's super clean.
I'm gonna look
I
that
haven't
up.
looked into it too much, but that's what I'm looking into right now for local SEO. But go ahead and start looking into that. But we'll go ahead and wrap up. Let me stop the recording.